Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Secretary, thank you for the insights of the most recent things. Let me start with North Korea, understanding that the summit isn't going forward at this point, but hopefully at some point there will be an opportunity to seek the appropriate type of meetings necessary to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. But since I've heard different statements coming out of the administration, I want to see if we can go through a sense of what it is that we might mutually agree is the essence of the elements that are essential to any deal with North Korea. So I'm going to ask you to give me a sense of yes or no on some of these questions. Do you believe that the current nuclear test suspension must continue and that denuclearization means the dismantlement and removal of all nuclear weapons, facilities, technology, and material from North Korea?
There are two questions there. The second one is with respect to dismantlement. I think the answer to that is yes. We are looking for the complete dismantlement of their weapon systems, the delivery capability associated with that, and all of the elements of their program that would lead them to have material, enriched material, fissile material that could be used at some time to build out a weapon system.
So
I think the answer to that is yes, but I wanted to make sure I clarified.
Okay, I appreciate that. Do you believe that any deal must include an agreement that North Korea must end the production and enrichment of uranium and plutonium for military programs?
Yes, but as we begin to head down this path, I have to tell you, I've had discussions with Chairman Kim personally. There have been other discussions. I am going to reserve some space for us to be able to conduct these discussions outside of the public sphere. I think that's important. I think it's important for our eventual ability to achieve the outcomes that I think everyone in this room hopes we can achieve.
Well, I certainly want to give you negotiating space, but I at least want to understand, as a committee responsible for oversight, what is our standards that we're going into? That's what I'm trying to determine. What's the standards that
sir,
we're
I think we've made very clear what our objectives are.
Okay, so let me ask you then further. Would a deal have to include an agreement that North Korea must permanently dismantle and disable its nuclear weapons infrastructure, including test sites, all nuclear weapons research and development facilities, particularly with respect to advanced centrifuges and nuclear weapons enrichment and reprocessing facilities?
That is certainly our objective, Senator.
Would any deal have to include agreement that North Korea put forward a full, complete, and verifiable declaration of all its nuclear activities?
Yes, I only wish the Iranians had done so.
Would any deal include robust restrictions to assure that nuclear material technology and expertise are not exported?
Sir, we have a deep aim, wholly apart from denuclearization of the North Korean peninsula, and a lot of work underway to ensure that proliferation does not occur.
Does any deal have to include an agreement that North Korea continue its current ballistic missile test suspension, including any space launches, and that any agreement must include the dismantlement of all ballistic missiles and a prohibition on all ballistic missile development?
So I think I said this in my confirmation hearing. I'm happy to reiterate it. It is the case that is our objective, and I shared this with Chairman Kim when I met with him as well, that the missile program is a central component of their capacity to hold America at risk, and that is our aim, that is part of this agreement that we would reach, that they would no longer possess the capacity to achieve those kinds of launches that I think you're speaking to in your question.
And to be truly, completely verifiable and irreversible, any agreement with North Korea should be permanent in nature with no sunsets on its provisions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, those are all very helpful for understanding the standards of what we're trying to achieve. Let me ask you, so as we walk away from the summit, where does that put us with the rest of the world? Do you believe that somehow we are strengthened in this regard, or are we weakened as a result of walking away ourselves because of some statements?
Senator, I don't believe in that sense that we're in a position to believe that there could be a successful outcome. I think that's what the the President communicated pretty clearly in his letter. I can add to that, over the past many days, we have endeavored to do what Chairman Kim and I had agreed, was to put preparation teams together to begin to work to prepare for the summit, and we had received no response to our inquiries from them. So we, in addition to what the President laid out in his letter, it is also the case that I disagree with what you said in your opening statement. I think the American team's fully prepared. I think we're rocking. I think we're ready. I think we're prepared for this meeting. I think President Trump's prepared for this meeting. We were fully engaged over the past weeks to prepare for this meeting. So I disagree with your assessment that the Americans are not ready.
Well, when I say not ready, I'm talking about, you know, we needed to test all of the propositions and lay out all of the elements of what was ultimately to be decided in a way to find out whether the North Koreans were truly true. But I gather,
yes, sir. That's been done. That's been done 3 times before in American history, and Kim Jong-un today possesses the most robust nuclear program he has ever had.
And as a result of canceling the summit, he still possesses them. Let me ask you this. In your confirmation hearing, you noted that Russian bad behavior is the driver behind the currently acrimonious bilateral relationship, and this behavior presents a clear danger to the United States. We've seen a whole host of actions, decisions, undisputed findings of the intelligence community. We saw Russia deploy a chemical weapons attack on the soil of a NATO ally. We saw a chemical attack that Russia supported by Assad. Can you tell me why it is that the President seems unable to speak of Russia in a way that acknowledges that there was an attack against our own country in terms of a cyber attack on our elections, and actions that we've noted others that were acted this way, that were put as a terrorist state, and yet we see no such actions as it relates to Russia. I'm trying to understand the administration's views on Russia.
Senator, you just said that there have been no actions. I fundamentally disagree with that. I'm happy. I brought a list of the actions this administration has taken to push back against Russian aggression of all forms. Their cyber efforts, their election meddling efforts, the chemical attack that took place in Skripal. The list is long. I think the record ought to properly reflect that it is far more than took place under the previous administration. Indeed, most of this meddling took place during the previous administration, and this administration is now working to deter that from ever happening again. And I think our administration ought to be very proud of the work we have taken, sanctions and otherwise, against Russia.
I'll be happy to explore that with you in a second.
Senator Johnson.